Greetings to our listeners and welcome aboard to episode 55 of the Six Sports Podcast. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see who's on the screen. It's your host, Sergio, here. And I've got I was going to call them the Believers, but I think
you stopped
believing. To those listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatnot, it's Joe and Igor that are with me this week for this episode as we, I guess, do the funeral. No, I've digested, buddy. Do the funeral for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And like every funeral out there, we give the gong to another season that has fallen by the wayside for the Toronto Maple Leafs I can't say in predictable fashion because I predicted that they would be out in 5. So they actually lasted 2 games longer than I thought they would. But like a wet fart in Game 7, the Leafs put up another great effort. And away they go, and Boston captures, another, well, what do they call it? The thing on your bedpost, the notch on the bedpost. Is that the saying? I think
notch
it's a saying.
Belt, I think.
Notch on your belt? No, notch on my belt is what I need because my belt doesn't fit me properly anymore. Anyways, I am happy to be back from vacation. I am very happy that I did not have to subject myself to watching the first, I don't know, 4 of the 5 games because I was away for games 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I had the benefit of muting my phone. I was in Spain 6 hours ahead, muting my phone and then waking up the next morning, going into YouTube and watching the game in 10. Much more digestible when all you have to do is watch 10 minutes of this crap. It's so easy in comparison. I did fly home for game 6 though. And of course, they do what they got to do to push it to 7, just to make everyone hope just a little bit more. And then pull the rug right from under you. Gentlemen, listen.
Serge, you were 6 hours ahead. Why didn't you tell us what was going to happen?
I wanted the surprise to still be there for you guys. The element of surprise.
Whatever.
I didn't want to ruin it.
I didn't want to us a lot of grief,
I could have.
Just saying.
What's the fun in that?
It's a tradition at this point, I believe.
It is a tradition. I
mean, it's definitely a tradition with Boston. We've seen multiple repeats, Game 7s, comebacks from 3-1.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It was 3-1. It was 4-1.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who the opponent is, guys. I mean, it's crystal clear at this point. It does not matter who the opponent is. The Leafs, when it comes to the game to take it all, they've done it once, and that was last year. On a screened overtime goal that made it through the pads of Vasilevsky.
Luke.
In a series that they were heavily outplayed in. And, God bless them for getting one in this entire run of playoff hockey in the Shanahan era. They managed to get by round one time. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay.
So the Shanahan plan, it works. It's just a little slow, right? It's incremental at the slowest absolute pace.
Incremental at best. I don't even know where you guys want to start, but because I have no format, no checklist that I want to go down.
We could just end it right here. I think we've pretty much said it all, right?
That's it.
Thanks, everyone.
I was checked out before the season even began. And I just, I am the I told you so guy when the situation warrants it. This doesn't. I get no pride out of saying I told you so, this wasn't going to work, because I'm still a fan at the end of the day. I still want to see the team succeed. So this is one of those scenarios where it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I said it over and over from the beginning of the season that I just didn't love how it was put together, because the core was still here and intact. And if you don't change that, like if you don't change the nucleus, changing the exterior parts, they've tried that endlessly. Now, I get it. as a fan base, you guys liked the moves that Tree Living did in terms of his we'll call them the exterior parts of this team who he brought in. It's Bertuzzi and it's Domi. These guys are playoff performers. Okay. Bertuzzi has hands of stone, but that's fine. Ryan Reeves, it's about, it's about culture. Okay. Yeah, you didn't see the ice in Game 6. You didn't see the ice in Game 7, right? So that's fine.
I think credit where it's due, though. He did up the toughness of the team.
Okay.
Bringing in some of those big bodies and hard-hitting bodies. I mean,
that's fine.
Over the stats at the end of the season, I think we were the third.
They were hitting.
The third most hits in the NHL as a team.
Yeah. All right. So the Leafs weren't going to get.
They were going to get bullied like they
weren't going to get bullied. That's
playoff rounds.
Yeah. There was also slight cultural shift, I guess you could call it, in terms of like pushback, and we're not going to let guys run over our stars. Like somebody will,
It's still exterior parts.
Yeah.
And maybe at the end of the day, maybe that's where we're gonna go with this. Listen, I mean, everybody and their sister is pretty much echoing the same message now, right? Okay. But hey, feel free to go back a year's worth of podcasts, because at some point I was talking about it last summer, and I just think that everyone's a little late to the party. But more importantly, the organization could be late to the party. And we'll get to the part that I'm not fully convinced that they are going to make changes. I'm really not. I swear to God, I'm really not.
I hope you're
because
wrong.
I think that, if there was ever a point in life where you said, cite an example that proves we're living in a simulation, the Toronto Maple Leafs and how they operate their team might be that cited example. Because if it's not, then I think that their mission is to probably drive everyone that's watching insane. Because, and we've said this fucking 4 years running, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again. And I don't know. What are you doing here? The wall is painted white, but they've taken a marker every offseason leading to this and put a little different color in like the upper right-hand corner. That's how we changed it. Not a white wall anymore. It's got a little orange mark. And then they covered the orange mark with a blue one. Well, it's not the same anymore. We covered it with a blue mark. No, the wall's still fucking white, man. It's still white. Okay? So now you've committed to Matthews. You've committed to Nylander. Okay? You've committed to Riley. It's not the core four. The nucleus is 5. Tavares is coming up after this season. Marner's coming up for after this season. And now everyone is on board with you got to trade Mitch. And I know that you guys are on board with it too, because our discussions aren't held exclusively on this podcast with these microphones in front of our face. They're done daily. We work together. We've said this. Like, we talk about these things ad nauseum. It has to happen, yes. I haven't changed my stance on that, but my stance is going back well over a year now on the Mitch subject. I think the issue is that for this organization to do it, they have to make a concession today that the return is not what it would have been 12 months ago, and that it's irrelevant what the return is.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
don't know if it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
I think it is. I think it's gotten to the point where the experiment, you've got to draw it to a conclusion. The Mitch Marner experiment is over.
But you're not trading him for a bag of pucks either.
No, we're not. But it's not gonna be a parity deal. And I think they have to accept that fact and take a loss there. Because otherwise they're gonna be stuck with him for another year. It's gonna be the exact same thing all over again. And maybe they are stuck with him. Maybe he holds firm and says, no, I've got a no movement clause. I'm not going anywhere.
He's got that right.
Too bad. I'm staying in town and figure me out after. Re-sign me or I walk, right? Which could very well happen again. But I think if they give him or rather, if he gives the team an allowance with 4 teams, 6 teams, 2 teams, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that it would be more than that.
Then it's even tougher. Then you're not even. There's no guarantee for a parity trade to get any value back. You get some, but not the exact same. I think that's weird.
I think you lose the option of a parity trade in terms of talent. Now, I mean, like, that doesn't mean that you're trading Mitch Marner for another Mitch Marner, but we're just talking about, a star for a star. I think they've lost the ability of a trade like that. And there's a number of reasons why that type of a trade can't happen. And why it doesn't matter. But I'll get to the why it doesn't matter in a second. Obviously, when you got into last offseason, there was the option to trade Mitch Marner freely before July 1 of 2023. That no movement clause kicked in then. And when we got to last offseason, I remember us talking, and I've said this multiple times on this podcast. I was never an advocate for Kyle Dubas, but what I feared most was that if they fired Dubas, whoever the incoming GM was not going to have an appetite to make an immediate change because he was going to come in. Now he inherits this core, logically would just look at it and say, okay, the other guy's moves didn't really work, but those weren't my moves. It wasn't my touch. It wasn't my acquisitions, my trades, my signings. So I'm going to give it a year, which is exactly why Brendan Shanahan fired Dubas in the first place. Because if you go back in time to that Dubas interview after the season, before he got fired, when he did his media availability, I mean, he fell just short of saying, yeah, I'm going to move one of these guys.
Yeah, he alluded to
he alluded to maybe we've got to visit, something a little bit more dramatic. And I don't know what that dramatic thing would have been. Obviously, the Nylander contract hadn't happened yet. But in terms of value, 2 years of Mitch Marner is going to be much more valuable to a team, I think, than 1 year of William Nylander, right? That's my thinking on it. So I think there might have been a Mitch Marner trade. And if you fast forward in the year that's followed since then, there's been plenty of rumors and stuff that's come out from, the big guys like Friedman and Chris Johnson and stuff like that, where it was like, yeah, there was a point last offseason where Marner kind of mentally conceded that he might be gone. And then the firing happens and Treliving comes in and the draft passes and July 1 passes and nothing has happened. And at that point, you're like, okay, they're running it back, which is what I believe Brendan Shanahan wanted in the first place, right? Go ahead.
Well, the firing happened, but then the first thing after that was a phone call from Shanahan to the Star saying, don't worry, you're good.
You're right. Yeah. Yep. And that can't be forgotten.
Yeah.
So Shanahan got what he wanted, which was to keep everything intact and bring in a new set of eyes that was going to bring in different complementary pieces. And Treliving did that. And here we are again in the same spot. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a really, really long way of saying, if you are not committed to changing the nucleus of this team, you simply cannot expect a different result going forward. It does not matter. You can keep taking that brush and painting whatever you want on the exterior. It's irrelevant. Okay? Can they do it again? Right? Keep the core, make like different additions, and then suddenly go on a run next year? Yeah, it can happen, right? But a hope and a prayer is not strategy. We talk about that all the time. And if you're doing it, if you're running it all back again, that's a hope and a prayer to me, because it's the same nucleus that keeps failing. So then at this point, you don't have a strategy, is the way that I feel about it.
I do think that the major shakeup, which we're all anticipating with the coaching staff this Friday, and maybe something else we can get to discussing that as well. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the believer in me, right? Seeing like the skill set on paper, seeing them play the way they do in the regular season, like the skill they bring to the ice and the way that they're able to just make it happen. And arguably wasn't as noticeable for certain guys this year, but the group still kind of came together. And let's face it, they had a great season, right? They almost always do. But you've seen so many other teams, and Edmonton is like such a great example of this, where they switch out the coaching staff, and all of a sudden, I think they lost their first 2-3 games with that coach, and then bang, went on a tear. How many games did they win in a row? So
it was 18, 17, something like that.
Yeah, it was insane. So again, it's like the deep-rooted, I can't get it out of me believers thinking, hey, okay, maybe we run it back with a different coach, with Berube or something, right? And the hope cycle starts all over again, and then in a year's time, we're talking about this all over again.
But you know what, Joe? They missed an opportunity to do that within the season.
I think they should have done that at the end of the playoffs last year. But that second round squeaker,
you're right.
Secured Keefe and his staff.
No, you're right.
Staff for another try.
I think he should have been fired after the Montreal fiasco, guys. Come on.
Okay, yeah, but again, all you're going to keep doing is citing different examples of whys. But the point is that once they brought him into last season, there were points in the season where the Leafs struggled, right? Yeah. Where you could have easily just said at one of those points, okay, I'm going to make the coaching change, because it's always the easiest thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a reason why it would have been beneficial in the season, because then you get the coach in there.
Yeah, you get a runway.
If it's only a coaching problem, then today you would have had that answer already. If it's only a coaching problem, maybe the Leafs are in the second round, and we're sitting here talking about a series against Florida, right? And oh my God, this team looks completely different in the 52 games that, ex-coach has been with the team.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. As a matter of fact, I mean, you sit there with Keefe having an extension, which is irrelevant. That doesn't preclude you from being fired, but they are delayed in their decision making constantly right now. So for all the credit that people want to give to Shanahan in some of the good things that he's done in this era, a lot of the other stuff, these decisions they've either come to, like, the timing of some decisions is just horrible. So now I get it. Shanahan doesn't make the decision on the coach. That's on the general manager. But maybe at some point you got to knock on the office door and say, you know what?
What do you think?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Because maybe now's the time to do it. Because if it doesn't work under a new coach, we know what it looks like under Keefe. Then when we get to the offseason, we kind of have our answer, and then we got to probably change the nucleus. Now, what's going to happen on Friday, this is the part that makes me sick, okay? First off, the news conference is originally scheduled for Thursday, right?
And they bumped it.
That was the thing, okay? And now we're going to bump it to Friday. In the world of news, when you have a news conference on Friday, it's called you are trying to bury the lead, folks. You are sticking it on a Friday, hoping that whatever you say is forgotten on the weekend, because all of your talk radio is only going to get one day to talk about it. If you have it on a Thursday, they get all of Thursday to talk about it, all of Friday to talk about it. It becomes a heavy talking point, right?
So you think it's going to be controversial in the opposite direction that we all want to see?
The opposite direction.
It's going to be last year.
They're going to come out, okay, in my opinion, and Pelly's going to be there, obviously, and he is going to give his words of confidence that this organization under Brendan Shanahan, that he will continue to lead it, and Brad Treliving will continue to be the GM. I think just before the news conference, they are going to announce that the coaching staff is fired. So that's going to be their bullet, right? We fired the coaching staff. Again, you're late, but they're going to sell you that by doing this, and a new coaching staff is coming in. We believe in this core. We believe in this nucleus. We just think it needs a different voice. And that's going to be the sell. I ain't buying. I ain't buying.
They'll use
And
that to try and buy more. Yeah. Buy more.
And I don't think the majority of Leafs Nation is buying anymore.
No.
And I think the media is going to rip them apart for it. And it's not going to bury the lead, by the way, because the Maple Leafs news cycle is never buried. So by giving a weekend to people like Brian Hayes and the Overdrive guys and Koliakovo and First Up and the guys over at the Fan 590, all you're doing is giving them more time to percolate thoughts to come back on Monday and fire at will.
Never mind. It's going to leave the segment after the first period on Hockey Night in Canada.
It might.
They're going to talk about the game.
No, they're not.
I'm sure.
But that's my fear.
Obviously, Twitter's going to explode on the weekend. All the guys
absolutely.
that you just mentioned and every other, pundit's going to explode. And then Monday will just be recap of the explosion to put it out to the masses who tune in.
I hope to Christ that I'm wrong. I swear. In every anything good that is inside my body, I hope that I am wrong about this. But I don't feel it. When you schedule a news conference, and you're already telling me that Shanahan's there, right? Short of they pushed it to Friday because they're figuring out Shanahan's walking papers right now. And Thursday afternoon, an announcement's going to come out that he's been let go. Short of that, which I'm not expecting, that just tells me you're not looking to do anything. You're not looking to do anything drastic, which is the furthest from what needs to happen. On the Mitch Marner stuff, what I'd said before, why it's a little bit irrelevant about what the return is at this point. It's because you need a cultural change on this team. And you can bring in all of these guys that we keep talking about, your Bertuzzes, your Domies, your Ryan Reeves, Joel Edmondson, insert whatever name you want. But when the nucleus of your team has been together for as long as it has, and the five have been together for what's coming on almost 8 years, right? I mean, the entire Tavares contract, so the five, right? And that's the nucleus. So you can bring in 50 different people along the way, but that's still your nucleus. So they can take nicely to people that are in the room. They can play nice with people that are in the room. Everyone can sound like, hey, we're coming together, we're a group, but you're still the nucleus. And the cultural shock that needs to happen comes from within breaking something up within that. And by the way, a Mitch Marner trade is not enough. It can't just be one thing, but you need at least one. And I don't even think they're going to give one. I believe that these guys are sitting back right now, looking at it saying, you know what? We're going to continue. We're going to forge forward. These are our guys. They will announce a Marner extension at some point. And collectively, as a management group, they'll look at it and say, okay, after next year, we've got Tavares off the books. We don't bring him back. That's the $11 million that we'll utilize to figure things out after. I think you're seeing very much that entire core come back next year. Like that's me reading the tea leaves right now based on what I'm seeing, because it would have been completely understandable if the day after exit interviews, coaching staff should have been fired already.
Yeah.
We haven't heard an inkling of that.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Shanahan, should have been fired already. Haven't heard an inkling about that.
I don't know. I don't follow the other team's locker cleanouts. Do teams typically, is that typically when they're fired? Like the next
Shortly
day?
after. Could be.
Well, I mean, we're only 1 day, so this is technically shortly after still.
Yeah, but the point is that this isn't, this isn't, oh my God, our expectations were here and we came so short of it. Like at this point, this is just a continuation of failures. So it, if Monday morning would have rolled around, you would have said, well, Sheldon Keefe and his coaching staff are fired. It would have been like, okay, yeah, tell me about it. Okay, no surprise there. What's next?
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. And that's what really brings me concern about what's the thought within this. And listen, I mean, if there's one thing that I've learned after years of watching just NHL hockey in general, and Anthony says this all the time, the NHL and its managerial tactics, it's a very conservative league.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most conservative league in comparison to the other major sports. In the NFL, you see major shakeup. In the NBA,
every single day.
It's like every single offseason.
Yeah.
You know, these stars are being traded or requesting trades and making their way out. Major League Baseball, you see a ton of movement. In the National Hockey League, man, like these guys are as conservative can be. Status quo. And it makes me wonder at this point.
It's all Ovechkin's fault.
It's all Ovechkin's fault. Don't forget that. If MLSE and their board just simply doesn't have an appetite for disrupting
this money-making machine they have,
it's not that.
But
just
it's not even that.
Disrupting the success of the team. Because the one bonus in the Shanahan era,
success. Sorry.
No, but the one bonus, yeah, you're right. But the one bonus in the Shanahan era, the best stretch of regular season hockey that we've probably ever seen in Leafs history.
Post 67, let's be honest.
Yeah, but okay, yeah, but
really,
like,
probably of all time.
Yeah, but we're talking about a league that like post expansion era, like the best stretch, the best stats, the best individual accolades, the best hockey that you see. But again, it's all tied to the regular season. Like it's all tied to the regular season because there's no postseason success with it.
Right.
But do you want to upset it? Because for me, it's the old saying. Sometimes you got to take one step back to take 2 or 3 steps forward. And that's where I feel the team is at. And I'd be okay with that step back. Like I'd be okay if, Mitch Marner only wants to go to Anaheim, right? And with Anaheim, it's more of a futures deal. So you're not really getting back talent that's immediately going to help you in the lineup. But it frees up $11 million. So you go into free agency and you find a couple of more 1 year, or maybe 2 year guys just to fill a gap, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that could invariably lead to taking a step back next season. But you regroup, you look at what you have in the team, you look at a future that might include Fraser Minton, a future that might include OHL MVP, Easton Cowan, and those guys eventually coming into the lineup. And through that, it's a new window that will open up in 2 seasons or 3 seasons.
Well, that, and you can also look at the future that you're going to be getting from your future. Like if Anaheim gives us 2 first-round picks or whatever,
sure,
right? We can expect a top 3 pick over the next couple of years. So, right? Like they're bottoming out, right? So,
yeah, but Anaheim has a lot of young talent.
No, I know, but still, like, okay, fine, top 5. Like they're not going to be.
I just threw Anaheim out as a name, right?
But so, hey, I'll take Zegras and package back. I'm sure they got another couple of good players.
But you know what? They probably would give you Zegras back. Zegras doesn't do a lick for the Leafs.
Yeah,
he's the gritty part 2. Okay, like not a guy that's gonna. Yeah, he's Mitch Marner version 2. Not gonna work in this market, right? If we're chewing up Mitch, can you imagine what we do to Trevor Zegras? Like this is a lunch pail fan base. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, we
want guys that work hard
and right? Gary Roberts.
Now, listen. For all the talent that these guys have on this team, those guys were part of teams that could get by the first round on a consistent basis. They didn't win a cup.
Well, they also had talent. Like, you know what I mean? Like Steve Thomas and Darcy Tucker. Like they could still score and put up points and do all the other intangible lunch pail things, right?
Well, because what happens is that when you're an opposing coach, you don't look at Steve Thomas and Gary Roberts in the same way that you look at Mitch Marner, Tavares, Matthews, and Nylander. You don't say, oh, shoot, we have to play this super, super tight defensive game and wait for the Leafs to make mistakes, according to Sheldon Keefe.
I hated that.
when it's those other guys like Tucker and Corson, I gotta think back to Corson and Thomas and Gary Roberts. These guys are not 50 goal scorers; they're not 40 goal scorers, right? So maybe you don't play as tight, and they find ways to get through with their game. The Leafs have never been able to adjust in the playoffs. I obviously I'm making light to the comments that Sheldon Keefe made in regards to that, but what does that say to you as a coach, man? It says that you can't adjust. Yeah, teams play us a certain way and they wait for us to make mistakes. Well, then come up with a new effing game plan, dude.
Play them a certain way, right? Like turn it around.
Literally your job as a head coach.
It's literally your job.
You had one job, Keefe.
So instead of playing tight hockey, then where everyone's stick is tight, tell your guys to go play pond hockey for a period. I don't know, toss pucks up in the air and in the middle of the ice and go crap. I don't know, but it's just the thought of hearing that was so frustrating. I'm like, did he really just say that?
Were frustrating.
Well, because we're tired of it.
Well, anyways, nobody ever takes any accountability. Let's start with that. Everybody's all about, I don't know what happened. I don't know what. What about you not scoring? Sam was the only one. He is the one guy I love, and I just wish he was more consistent. Because
the problem is that whenever Sammy takes it on him, it's likely one more little mini slice to his wrist that he keeps giving himself that we don't know about.
Yeah, the mental game.
Because he looked suicidal at one point last season. Yeah. God bless him for making a comeback from a mental standpoint. I don't want to keep harping on this idea that they're not going to do anything, right? Because then that just makes the podcast boring.
Would you absolutely lose your mind if Keefe and his staff hung on?
Yes.
I wouldn't lose my mind.
I would lose my mind.
Because I have such low expectations in terms of this team having the guts to make changes.
You think it's a possibility at this point?
Absolutely, I think it's a possibility.
Of course, it's a possibility. Only time will tell.
Guys, they're so close. They're so close. Like your captain said it. Like we can feel it. We're so close. I don't know what they're close to.
Well, Riley didn't say they were close.
One goal,
right? Riley's end of the season.
So let's talk about that. When you look at the failures of this team, popping in goals in a pretty consistent basis in playoff games, like it's eluded them for a few playoff runs now. Like it really has. And in this particular series, I mean, they went 1 for 21 on the power play.
Terrible.
1 for 21. How do you do that? The flip side, 64.7% on the penalty kill. What?
Yeah. The only worst
you want the silver lining, though?
Was LA,
do you want the
right?
silver lining?
Sure.
Their 5-on-5 goals against per 60 is 1.76, and that leads all of the teams.
Because that's the only time they score.
But if you can't take advantage,
2 power play goals, 2 would probably drop them 2-3 spots.
We said it. Listen, we said it in our playoff preview. Special teams was going to be the death of this team in a series. And when you go 1 for 21 on the power play and you can't kill a freaking penalty. Now, I get it. They killed a couple in the end games, but it makes a difference in games 1, in games 2, in games 3, in games 4, because maybe it doesn't have to go to 7. Maybe if you show up, and this power play was struggling coming into the playoffs. So this isn't a an issue that just surfaced. Like we were talking about this damn power play for weeks.
You know what?
Leading up to the playoffs.
I was thinking about this earlier. You know what was a massive detriment to this organization leading into the playoffs was the fact that we absolutely killed for some reason on the power play in February.
Okay.
Like we had an amazing February and all of a sudden we're like, great, like we're back on track. March rolls around and it's straight down in the dumps. And unfortunately that carried into the playoffs as well. And we did not see any improvement. In fact, it seemingly got worse.
Well, you want to know what I think is the biggest detriment? when you're looking to make additions to your coaching staff and you look to a former coach of the Ottawa Senators of all teams.
Right.
Could
nobody else
you get any lower in the coaching depth chart than a former Ottawa Senators coach? Like, I mean, what does that tell you?
What if he was like the Trojan horse, the Senator Trojan horse?
He was sent here
Saboteur.
to sabotage the Leafs. And tomorrow, when he loses his job, he goes back to Ottawa as an assistant under Travis Green, who just got hired. Travis Green. And is Travis Green perhaps Toronto's saboteur?
Oh.
Now in Ottawa?
A little spy versus spy action going on.
You screwed us, we're going to screw you. How's
great.
that conspiracy theory? Keeping Ottawa down in the dumps?
I like it.
It worked with DJ, didn't it? Former Leafs coaching your team should be assigned to the Ottawa Senators, and bringing in Ottawa Senators coaches here should be assigned to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know. It seems just like stay away from it. It just doesn't work. Doesn't work. Do you guys think there's like honestly, do you think that this organization is going to do something?
Yeah.
Like, do you think we've run out of real estate here and they're ready to concede that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I am hoping with every fiber of my being that they do make sweeping changes from the top down to Mitch Marner. But knowing what these guys have done over the past 4 years, call it. When was the Montreal series? 4 years ago? Epic collapse.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that just thinks they're going to stick to the insanity plea.
I think that they're going to use the injuries in this series as their crutch. I really, really do. I think they're going to sit there and say, we played the first three without Willie. It then took him a couple to even get into it. So that kind of crosses out 5 games. And then we lost Matthews, and we still pushed it to 7. And I think it's going to be a crutch that's used to, again, try to sell you a bag of gold nuggets, even though that bag is filled with grass trimmings. And that's what they're going to try to sell to the fan base. It's not going to work, but 19,000 people are still going to be in their seats at the beginning of next year, unfortunately.
Undoubtedly, that's not an issue at all. Those seats will fill up.
The most passionate fans in this city, they checked out. They checked out. And not all of them, but a pretty good percentage of them checked out before we even got to the playoffs. If you remember, and I forget exactly what game was it. Was it after Game 3 in Toronto or Game 4? You started to read all the social rumblings, and it was kind of coming out, oh my God, the crowd was quiet.
Right, the Joe Bowen comment.
Yeah. That crowd is quiet at Leaf playoff games right now because your most passionate fans in this fan base don't want to go watch a game. That's why it is what it is. It's not because, all the suits, they don't want it. It's not about that. Not about that. It's about the fact that the people that would spend the money for the playoffs especially aren't forking over that money because they don't believe in this team. And now I think that the percentage of those diehards has grown even more in terms of being fed up with what they've seen. And they're not. They're not. They're not going to go to a game. They're not going to spend the money. And some of them were still there. But I think that as that percentage grows, that's why that stadium's so damn quiet. Because there's enough rowdy, loud, obnoxious, true blue Leaf fans that will fork over $400 or $500 and go watch a playoff game. Like, there's enough of them to fill up half of that stadium every home game.
Fill up the top.
No, they're not there. But what I'm telling you is that what I'm telling you is the most vocal fans didn't spend the money this year.
I don't disagree. But I think there's
casual fans were still we're forking over money for the playoffs.
There's another component.
The casual fans that are doing this on their damn phones while the game is happening. That's why they're not loud.
Watching games 3 and 4, you have to understand that there is an additional component to that, and it's simply the fact that there wasn't much to rally about or cheer about.
Yeah, give me something to cheer
Those
for.
games
and I'll
were
cheer.
dismal. Like the Joe Bowen comment was great. Like, and it does make sense because typically that arena isn't the most boisterous arena in the league. It's probably in the bottom half of that. If there's some sort of decibel meter,
bottom third, my friend.
Yeah, bottom quarter, dead last. Nonetheless, those games did not inspire any confidence in any of the fans that were there to cheer, be happy, to have hope. There was just nothing there. They were dead games. So part of me can't. Like, especially if you're going there and you're spending that kind of money, it's very easy to get disheartened and upset and go, here we go again. And of course, it's at this point, it's pure tradition for the Leafs in the playoffs to shit the bed. And then you got the fans in the back of their minds going, oh no, not again. Oh shit, not again. Why did I spend $600 on this ticket? What am I even doing here? What a waste of money. And they get all pissed off. And I would too. If I was at the games.
Well, that guy already yelled at the TV for spending $800 and something on a ticket or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
You know who else says, "Oh shit, not again"? the guys on the bench, man. They feel that.
Well, Marner just throws his gloves around.
Yeah, well,
that's his "oh shit, not again" reaction.
Man, I'd love to say, hey, we're gonna have an entire offseason to dissect all these changes that are coming, but guys, man, I haven't been wrong in 12 months. And I feel that I'm
now
not
is a good time.
I'd be happy to be wrong, buddy. I really, really would.
I think now's a great time.
I don't know how much more of this we want to exhaust. I'm going to give it a 60% chance that the coaching staff changes. Is there a name out there that really turns your crank from a coaching perspective to bring into this team?
Yeah, and I've said it before, but it's never going to happen just because it'll be a bad PR move, and our city will make sure that it's worse of a PR move. No, not Torts. Torts would be a dream come true also, but Quenneville, obviously. You need a guy who knows how to win, who knows how to get his players to be what they're supposed to be. There's like, Berube's great, but he's only done it once. And he did it by accident in a Cinderella year. I don't know what his record in the playoffs is before that. Like, I'll be honest, I don't know if he's ever made it past the first round either. So, it'll be cool with him here. But just because, it's something different, we don't know. And, we respect him. And, everyone's posting videos of his pregame, motivational speeches versus crappy Keefe's motivational speeches, and it's cool and new and fresh, but like at the end of the day, what are we really comparing, right? Like, I'd need to see what his playoff record has been over his tenure overall, but Quenneville for me would be, that's it, that's my guy. Like, mic drop.
You know what's unique about this situation?
By the way, 466 winning percentage in the playoffs.
That's not that good.
It's not too good. You know what's unique about this situation?
Not that good.
Last year,
one Cinderella run.
We were having this discussion last year, I believe, and we didn't know what coaches were available, right? I think we were drawing blanks. We were like, who would come in? I think this year we've got maybe like 3 to 5 candidates that could realistically take over this team and give them a good push, regular season and playoffs included. So I think now is the time you make that change with that level of availability. Whereas last
some
year,
of them are unknown at this point. So like Rod Brindamore, you don't actually know if he's going to be available, and I think that Carolina is going to be motivated to keep him. It sounds like John Cooper in
Maybe.
in
That's
Tampa.
also a maybe.
Yeah, right. There's.
I mean,
there's
like
few
I mean,
unknowns,
like
you're right.
right. So until these names actually become available on the market, there's Craig Berube, and well, I mean, there's not even Joe Quenneville because he hasn't been reinstated yet. But Quenneville would be right up there with my top choice too.
And I don't think you'd run into that shortage if Quenneville was reinstated, right?
Yeah,
I think you still have a few decent minds to pick from to bring to
Todd McClellan's not bad, right?
Why? What success does he have?
I don't know. L.A.
Okay, what are we talking about?
Jay Wood. I'm reading a thing of like available coaches.
It's just
Don Granato.
It's better than last year. And listen, at this point, I'll take a fucking bag of pucks over Keefe because I feel like he lost the room, he lost the team. Our offensive coach can go back to Ottawa.
Oh, I don't know that he's lost the room. Mission. I don't think he's lost the room. I just don't think that he has the ability to make the necessary, in-game adjustments.
There's no when I listen to him, and I don't listen to every one of his intermission speeches to the team. Perhaps I should, maybe to get a better idea. But from my limited perspective, there's nothing about him that screams like confidence building or galvanizing. He doesn't walk into the room and start chucking water bottles across the room when they play like shit. I don't get that from him. And again, I may be wrong because I haven't watched all the clips, but I think we need a shakeup to these guys. And now's the time you got to do it.
Cultural shakeup. That's what that'll be the theme until I'm blue in the face. Yeah. But I get the sense that we can take this episode, archive it, and just run it again on May the 7th, 2025, and just say, you know what, we don't want to record a new episode today. You could just listen to this one from last year because it's just on repeat. It'll just be on repeat. I really, I fear it. I fear it with my life. And I think that it's all about what's out there. Like, they're going to make excuses. They're going to make excuses.
I'm hoping on July 2nd we get a tweet saying John Tavares has been traded to like Detroit or something.
Okay. Sure.
Right after we pay his $7 million signing bonus.
Okay. Tavares is traded.
Yeah.
And now the C goes to Matthews. Then what?
Or Willie.
I think we got to reshuffle the letters, actually, to be honest with you. Like Marner, reshuffle the letters. Yeah, like even the A's. Marner and Riley not coming out after losing to talk to the media. Like, guys, you're leaders of this team. It's kind of your job. You know, you got a letter. So that was a bad look. I think it's time, and
especially because Marner's so good with the media when he talks.
Right.
We're like gods in this city.
Yeah. Well, that's not what he meant. It's not what he meant.
But you know what? Honestly, you're right. It's not what he meant, but poor choice of words.
Wow. No, it's not necessarily even poor choice of words. Like, he didn't give context to his words.
You could have just said there's a high level of expectation from our fans.
No, but they get treated. We treat them like gods.
Greek gods.
Mitch Marner just spoke to the media. That's the sound clip that should just come out of his mouth all the time. Better than words.
I think it's time we give a letter to Willie. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'm telling you.
That's good for Willie. That's a big hot take.
Stop. Would you let's say, would you be opposed to Matthews with the C, Willie and McCabe with the A's?
No, that'd be fine.
Whatever.
That's your leadership.
Yeah, but I don't.
Dude, I don't care where the letters fall on this team if the nucleus doesn't change.
Well, and I'm also saying how much weight.
I'm saying they changed. Like, Tavares gone, Marner gone. Let's say.
For real?
For real.
Well, then we're talking about a nucleus changing.
That's what I'm saying. But
okay,
those letters, because we're gonna have to reshuffle them. Obviously, would you be okay
Yeah,
with
but
those three
sure.
being
Yeah.
the
Great.
I'd
spokespeople of
switch.
the team?
I'd switch Nylander and Matthews, just because of his bench comment, the Willie bench comment,
Yeah.
and the guy is just so
listen.
cool, calm, and poised. Even when he's answering like all the questions in the locker room, like
He's the best.
yeah, I'm good, and he's just cool
Yeah.
about it all. Like, and I imagine like
Yeah.
that air. Of
Yeah, but I think you
confidence
need it.
carried.
I think in a captain you need someone that gives a little bit more than I'm good. That's cool. Yeah, whatever.
No, but that's
Yeah.
to
No,
the
he
media. But
still
you
does.
heard like on the bench, he was. I mean, maybe we don't know. There's multiple interpretations of what he said, but
Oh, you're talking about that
yeah,
clip
it's not
with,
fucking Junior or whatever the other lip reading commenter thought
Yeah.
he said. I can't remember at the time.
Shoot
but
more or something like that. Just take the shot.
something to that degree.
Yeah.
But he was vocal enough on the bench to like the top guys, Marner and Matthews. We don't know who he was yelling at, but anyways, that'd be my take. I'd give the C to Willie.
Wow.
I feel like Matthew Nyes might be a captain in grooming eventually after, let's say,
8 years.
after Matthews' contract is up. If he decides to leave, then at like age 30, whatever he's going to be when it's done.
By the way, we didn't really get into specific players and how they performed.
No, they all suck.
But
What?
no, but
Outside of
Nyes. No, I wanted to speak on Nyes. I thought Nyes had a great.
McCabe.
I thought Nyes had a great series.
Yeah, Nyes, McCabe, Nylander, can't say anything bad. Benoit to a certain degree as well, can't say anything bad. Lyubushkin killed it with fancy stats, also tied with Marner with 3 points in the series. I mean,
Doesn't he have as many goals?
More can you ask? No, I think they were all 3 assists. Marner had 1 goal, 2 assists.
Oh my god, that's good
but-
stuff.
Like again, these aren't the needle movers. Well, I mean, Marner should be, but
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
look, you don't know. So Nyes has upside, that far outweighs even the full season performance that he gave you this year. We almost forget that this was his rookie season. It was his rookie season
Mm-hmm.
because you got Nyes in the playoffs last year, and he performed admirably
He
in the
did the same
playoffs.
thing last
Before he got slammed in the head by Florida.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe that was a needle mover in that series too. But it's 2 playoffs in a row where you look at the way that Nyes plays, and we're talking about like 200-foot game, like even in the defensive zone, like everything, just like his energy, big overtime goal, obviously in Game 5. It's like you look at that and it's like, yeah, like you need more of that. Like you need more of that guy because that guy shows up in the playoffs. But his upside is high.
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah,
And I was explaining to Igor today, like when we talk about fancy stats and data in the National Hockey League, there's data on this stuff. Players that don't come in the league with superstar expectations. So this, we're not including, your Jack
McDavid's
Eichels, your
and
Austin
stuff.
Matthews, your McDavids, your Bedards. We're just talking about I don't want to call them run-of-the-mill players, but players that are not of superstar ilk that come in the league, that are average size players. So we're talking average size, like 5'9" to like 6'1" in that group. They take, on average, 250 to 350 games in the National Hockey League
to find the groove.
to find their upside.
Okay.
So if there's a player that comes in and he is, his upside expectations are that of a star player, he's going to get 75 to 80 points a year. Okay. And he's 5'9" to 6'1", takes about 250 to 350 games. Players that fall out of that, 6'2" and bigger, 5'8" and smaller, take even longer. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. They're just data, right? Matthew Nyes is 6'2", 215. So he kind of just falls out of the cusp of what you would call an average player. So the non-average size guys, right, take about 350 to 450 games. to find their upside. So if Matthew Knies is a guy whose upside is 70 points a year, okay, because he's right on that break, call it it's going to take him about 350 games to find that. He just played his first 82.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's still 5 years left.
No, there's still a couple of seasons left to get to that thing. And I say that because there were points this year that, people were crapping on him. Get Knies off the ice. I'll bench him tonight. Like, people really don't understand what it takes. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, like specifically with him, Leafs have 2 young kids that we'll call their arrival anticipated at this point. I'd probably make an argument that because Cowan won the OHL MVP, his arrival might be highly anticipated now. The Leafs may have scored one, by getting him late in round 1. Those guys, Minten and Cowan, kind of fall into the average size player thing. If you're going to open a new window a few years from now, it's almost imperative to get those guys on this team starting next year and get them into the fire, and I'm not one for just giving spots to players. I still think that sometimes you need to earn it, but I think it would be highly beneficial to the Leafs to get those guys, like those 2 guys, in a third line role, bring some more veteran leadership to this team. And then whatever you get in the Marner and Riley trades.
I think I think the Leafs would make a bad move to not have those guys play in a few games. Test them out, see how it goes.
At least a 9, right?
Yeah, they should do it. Like,
well,
obviously,
Minten got 9 or
in
however.
Well, he didn't get 9. He got 4.
We're going to see them. We're going to see them in the preseason, undoubtedly. But I'd like to see them slotted in the regular season too. Give them a run.
Do you
Give them a
think
crack at the roster?
Do you think that Russian kid Gribyankin that we just signed, who just won the KHL championship,
maybe
might push?
Well, these guys are all going to get a sniff.
He's
to be
6'2", 192.
When you're a cap team, like the Leafs are,
yeah, you love those small players,
but you need them.
Yeah,
you need them.
Yeah,
you need a handful of small salary guys.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice when they're actually players that you're grooming within your organization and not 1-year signings that
Band-Aids.
that are here tomorrow and they're here today and gone tomorrow, right? Anyways, like, speaking of roster construction, so like we're on the subject at this point. Who of the exterior pieces, I like to call them, the additional pieces, do you think of bringing back?
I'd like to bring Domi. I think Domi comes back. Bertuzzi walks, and then you keep an Edmondson, you keep a McCabe, and I think you even keep a Lyubushkin.
Yeah, I'm good with all those, including, I guess, if
Benoit, maybe. I think Benoit's of.
We already got him re-signed for 2 years.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Well, Benoit's re-signed. Benoit and McCabe is your second pair going.
Yeah, they're going
year.
nowhere.
Unquestionably.
Right.
Unquestionably.
I'd be okay, I guess, with Bertuzzi staying, depending on what that would look like on him. I'm just saying, like, if he doesn't leave, if he actually likes it here and the team thinks, like, hey, this is going to be good, okay, sure. Why not?
So what's going to go differently in year 2 that didn't quite work in year 1? What?
Well, he's going to be more comfortable. Maybe he starts the
we're
way...
We're going to put him on the power play on a more consistent basis?
No, but maybe he starts contributing in, from the first half like he did in the last, 2 months of the season.
The 5-on-5 play is not enough. You got to put the pucks in the net.
Because hey, listen, not for nothing, but he took the rat right out. Like, Marchand was out of that series. He did.
Yeah.
Marchand wasn't running around doing his usual, getting, he was the one kind of not scared, but he was off his game.
Okay, I get it.
Right.
I mean, Marchand still scored a couple of goals in the series, though.
He definitely did.
Okay, so can you not find another Bertuzzi-esque player who might actually, that can also score and doesn't
sure.
apparently have stone hands. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the Domi stuff because, I mean, it's clear if you follow the story that it's been a long time that he's wanted to come to the Leafs.
Yeah,
and that he's here now, and I think that you're going to probably be able to save a few bucks. Like Domi isn't coming out saying, "Pay me $5 million a year." I think that he'll probably make a concession on salary if the team is willing to give term, because he just wants to be here.
Yeah,
and I'm fine with that. You got to probably look to change some of these exterior pieces, anyways. I'm not sold on Bertuzzi. I'm just not. I think that's going to probably require a multi-year commitment that starts with a 5, and I just didn't see enough to really make me believe that that's a good enough piece. So maybe just look to reallocate those dollars. The Leafs have a lot of cap dollars available to them, but they have a lot of spots to fill on the roster. They don't have a lot of guys under contract for next year.
Do you want to see a potential opening night lineup from thehockeywriters.com for next year?
When was that put together?
This was put together March 15th of this year.
No.
Too outdated?
Yeah. But go ahead now that you said it.
Well, Marner's still on the team. So,
yeah, exactly.
Bertuzzi, Matthews, Marner. Teravainen, Tavares, Nylander, Domi, Minton, DeBrusk, Nyes, Dewar, Robertson, Brody, McCabe, Riley, Tanev, Giordano, Liljegren. This is stupid. Talbot, Wall.
I'm sorry, they brought back TJ Brody and Morgan Riley's not on the team.
No, Riley, Tanev.
Yeah, Riley was there.
Oh, Riley, Tanev, and then what?
And Giordano Liljegren, but this is stupid.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So they're bringing back a 42-year-old Giordano and bringing back
this is stupid.
TJ Brody. Yeah, the hockey writers, go write something else, kids.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've exhausted everything that I can on this this playoff failure that was again. It was expected. At least I did. Yep, I expected it. But it's too bad. It's still too bad that it happened. And it's too bad that in my heart of hearts, I just don't believe that that the necessary changes are coming. The true blue cultural changes. I think they're going to skirt the issue. One more season. I think they're going to skirt the issue to do the deed that would be needed. They will not do the needful, Joe. They will not do the needful.
Here's to another season and postseason of pain and suffering.
Well, my question is, like, what nickname are we dubbing you guys with next year if they don't make any, like, core changes? Like, you can't come back as the believers now. That's it. It's gone. The disbelievers?
We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, we'll get back. I got to figure out what bandwagon I have to jump on.
You got all summer to think about it, and that's good. Yeah. Listen, to those of you that are tuning in, we thank you once again. If you are watching on YouTube, thanks for doing that. Don't we have cute faces? There's like buttons and subscribe buttons and a comment area.
What do all the YouTubers say these days? Smash that like button. Smash the like button.
Ring the bell, right? No?
Do the
notification bell?
Yeah. And subscribe.
And as I like to say, if you're only listening to us on podcast, on Spotify or Apple, because you can't bear to look at our faces and can only bear to hear our voices, we still appreciate you. And there's subscribe buttons there, and there's all that fun stuff. And do that. And also follow us on Twitter. Huh?
Tell your friends.
Oh, what? Oh, sorry. What's it called? Is it called X? Is that what it is? We occasionally tweet on X, and we'd love communication with our followers. So now the next question is, hey, man, how do I find you on Twitter? Well, on Twitter, we are at The Six Podcast, at the number 6 podcast. So you can X us because we don't say tweet anymore, right? Anyway,
I still say it.
I'm done, and we will end this episode the same way that we started it. To the Toronto Maple Leafs, we bid you a fond farewell. May the Undertaker be with you. Folks, we will catch up with you on the next episode. Have a good day, everybody.
Goodbye.
See ya.
And on behalf of Anthony,